just walking around the campus, I'm a student of history. I love the birth of this country and all of that history. And to walk around Harvard's campus was pretty cool. And then the meeting was just great. Here's what's interesting. I don't think we answered questions, but we certainly moved the ball forward, right? I mean, the more of this work that I do, the more questions get raised. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the MAX Afterburner Podcast, sponsored, powered, brought to you by the No Fallen Heroes Universe and Sacred Warrior Fellowship. Happy Veterans Day. It's Veterans Day, and please pray for us down here in South Florida. It's chilly. I got a long sleeve t-shirt on. It's in the low 40s this morning, I think, which is cold for South Florida, folks. We got to keep an eye out for falling iguanas, so please keep us in your prayers. Man, we have a lot to debrief, a lot to cover. Blessed, honored, humbled, just full of gratitude for the lows, full of gratitude for the highs, full of gratitude for all of it. Let's start with the closest alligator to the boat. Did a brief last night, formally launching our fellowship down here in South Florida called Sacred Warrior. So Sacred Warrior Fellowship has been officially airborne 5 months. We've done 3 retreats so far. We have our next one coming up December 5th through 7th down here, just north of Palm Beach County. If this calls you, head to sacredwarriorfellowship.com or shoot us an email, info@Sacred Warrior Fellowship, and we can get you up to speed with how you can join our church, be a member of our fellowship, what we do, our articles of faith, our constitution, our guiding precepts, everything. I'm just so, again, there's no way in hell if you told this little kid from South Jersey, South Philadelphia, that, decades later he'd be starting his own fellowship, or he would have flown fighter jets off of aircraft carriers or graduated from TOPGUN. Obviously, it's just that would not have been believable. I mean, technically, I don't believe it, and I did it. And I'm doing it. Along those lines, I want to give you a debrief of what I did last week. Flew up to Boston, and I spoke at Harvard Law. Again, there's no way in hell you could have told me. There's no way in hell you could have told me like a year ago that I'd be speaking at Harvard Law School. But I flew up. I was invited to the Harvard Law Petrie Floam division of the Harvard Law School, where they talk about policy and health and all sorts of stuff like that. It was, I don't know how I snuck in, obviously. I just, in a room full of legislators, people from the Harvard Divinity School, right? The religious folks were there. The dean and all the heavies from the Harvard Law School were there. I guess I was the token veteran. But it was pretty cool. I'll be honest. Susie and I went to Harvard briefly when our oldest son, Matthew, was at Norwich University in Vermont. He was playing hockey against Harvard. Really didn't, obviously, saw the rink, and that was about it, I guess. So didn't spend too much time at Harvard that time, but this was awesome. Spent the night, or flew up the night before, and just walking around the campus. I'm a student of history. I love the birth of this country and all of that history. And to walk around Harvard's campus was pretty cool. And then the meeting was just great. Here's what's interesting. I don't think we answered questions, but we certainly moved the ball forward, right? I mean, the more of this work that I do, the more questions get raised, and the more things need answers. But, we had a morning session, we had an afternoon session, and then we had a lunch session. I was on the panel, and it was live streamed. We had a Johns Hopkins researcher on the panel. We had some, somebody kind of tied to the FDA and a cannabis person. I was the veteran on the panel, and it's just funny, because looking at the pictures, I was hot. I guess I was in the zone. It's interesting, a bunch of people came up to me afterwards. They did a nice article in the Harvard Crimson, the big Harvard newspaper. I mean, it was out the next day. I think I was on the airplane and, got a news alert. Very nice write-up in the Harvard Crimson. I got to be honest with you, folks. The only way I thought in my life I'd be at Harvard Law School was like as a topic, as a defendant or something. So being up there, not as a defendant or a class, hey, let's talk about this idiot, was pretty cool. But, a lot of, students and faculty and folks came up to me afterwards, some folks crying and, telling me about how these, sacraments save their lives or the lives of loved ones. It's just so, it's just so cool to connect with people. 'Cause I got to be honest, when I get in, if you're a regular listener of this podcast, when I get into my rants, man, I'm in it, and sometimes I don't recognize it, but it's easy to be in it when you're very passionate about something. When you lead with your heart and your truth, you can't fail. It's physically impossible to fail. So it was good to talk to people afterwards and, go back for the afternoon session. And, but it's interesting because some of the Harvard law guys, the 500-pound heads are like, oh, wow, you'd be a perfect plaintiff for a RFRA lawsuit or something like that. I'm like, Religious Freedom Restoration Act, right? So we had, it sucks that we had to do. So we had the ultimate religious freedom comes from God. It doesn't come from a piece of paper or the Constitution. As a matter of fact, the First Amendment, they made pretty clear of that, didn't they? Congress shall make no law. Again, political science major, South Jersey. I even understand what those words mean. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Period. No asterisk, no but, no comma, no nothing. So as states or the feds started trampling on our constitutional right, remember, folks, these documents are a permission slip for the government. It's not the other way around. We, the people, got together and agreed and said, okay, because remember when this country, speaking of Harvard and the founding of this country, and all those 13 colonies are like, man, we love being independent. I love being a Virginian. Oh, yeah, well, I'm a Pennsylvania. Okay, great. Oh, man, got to fight a war. And, well, maybe we should get together, because we need an army and a navy and maybe to negotiate some internet with some other nations. But we're going to limit what this federal government can do. We just fought a war over not having a king or a federal government. So those documents, folks, limit the government. We are so inverted in this country right now. The bureaucracy, the government class, that Potomac, the Beltway, they look at us with disdain. They look down their nose at us. The unwashed masses, they have it completely backwards. So it was really interesting being in this room and talking, like getting on one of my rants. I'm like, I defended this country for 15 years. I defended the Constitution. I swore to give my life if needed for it. So how about I'm going to start exercising the First Amendment? And, some of these attorneys were like, wow, you'd be I'm like, what do you mean the perfect to challenge? What do you mean challenge? You don't need to challenge anything. It's black and white. Nowhere in the Constitution or the Religious Freedom Restoration Act does it say the DEA or anybody else approves or denies your religion. Like I said in my Sacred Warrior Fellowship brief last night, these compounds are sacraments. They are sacred. I had the most religious, spiritual experience of my then 52 years. It saved and changed my life. And it's interesting because the government, if it feels, I don't know why it would, that it needs to insert itself in your religion. And I get it, folks. Like, breaking news, the Church of Whiz just started and they do human sacrifices. Or I get it, right? In America, we're supposed to use that reasonable thing. I'm pretty damn sure 99.9% of Americans would agree that human sacrifices or hurting others or yourself, the government has a, quote, I learned this at law school too, right? Compelling interest. I would understand that. There is no compelling interest in what I am doing, right? With our sacraments, they're done on a retreat. They're not sold to take home. They're not, none of so I've gone out of my way to say, here is how our fellowship is formed and armed in the things we do. But it's funny because talking to one of the Harvard attorney guys, he's like, oh man, you'd be awesome. I'm like, I have zero interest in doing any of that. There's a great video. I sat in this podcast studio and read The Man Who Wanted to Be Left Alone. Go watch that video. It's got hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million views. Why? Just leave me alone. That's what the founding fathers of this country kind of were like. Leave me alone. I want to farm. I want to have my family, and I want to be free. Okay. Oh, wait, we have to litigate or we have to make some laws. All right. I'll see you in New York or Philadelphia. Let's make some stuff and then let's go home. I got crops to attend to. There was no permanent political class, right? So it's interesting to me when these guys were like, their mouths were watering saying, oh, we'd love to have you. I'm like, no, I'm good, man. Just leave me alone. Let me worship the way I want to worship, not hurting anybody, not hurting anybody else. And the government standard is the least restrictive means possible. And I brought this up at Harvard, the singularism, the church, the entheogenic church out in Utah, where the government came in and arrested the guy and took his sacrament and scriptures and threw him in jail. And the federal judge went ape shit against the government. How dare you? Let him out immediately, give him his sacrament back, and he can sue you for violating his constitutional rights. That's what's even cooler about this is that we have a system where if the government does get a little too batshit crazy, or the government agents or agents of the government, and they break they violate your constitutional rights, you can go after them individually. Thank God. Otherwise, they'd be trampling all over our rights, which they kind of do anyway. So it was just interesting, just me lighting it up at Harvard and people, here's my card, or if you want to, I'm like, no, that's zero interest. I'm honored to be here. You asked me what I'm doing with the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. You asked me what I'm doing with Sacred Warrior Fellowship. I told you. That's all I got for you. Leave me alone type of thing. So it was cool, but it was also interesting to see, because I don't go to meetings, right? Wrote a book about this, From Sea Level to Sea Level. I used to do executive or coaching and, help companies improve their execution. I'm like, I'll deny a meeting request. A meeting implies, first of all, it's going to start late. What's the topic? No action items, and it's no defined end time. I go to a brief, a debrief, or a status update. So it's interesting because, by the end of the day at Harvard, I'm looking around the room and, they have the Post-it things up on the wall. I'm like, clearly I wasn't running this because I would have been like, we're not leaving until up on these white, pieces of Post-its are who is going to do what by when. What are the action items? Who is going to do what by when? And if I see a good idea zipping around, or I heard a good idea today, if not me, if it was something I could do or should do, I got it. 3 words. I got it, and I mean it. But if it's not me, who and when? That's how we operate in the United States military. That's how we operate in my companies, in the things I do. If I'm sitting around in a meeting and there's some great ideas flying around and everybody's nodding their heads, that's when I go, okay, great. Who is doing that? If it's me, I'm on it. I got it. I'll tell you when I'm going to get it done by. I will succeed or I will die trying. Most people sit around and do not do that. They see the good ideas zipping around the room and they're like, yeah, it's great. Somebody should do that. All right. Got to get going. So it was good, but then it wasn't good because I don't know what came out of it. Other than, highlighting issues, it was great seeing students come up and faculty members, and this one lady with tears in her eyes, she's like, I thank God you were here. Thank you. I'm like, amen. Okay. So good stuff, but we need action. Today being Veterans Day, I saw President Trump and Vice President Vance at Arlington, and I love the words and all that type of stuff. I still have yet to hear back from Secretary Collins, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. I brought this up at Harvard. I said, because I had to throw the grenades, right? I'm like, let me let you all in, because there was FDA-ish people and, insurance and legislators. I'm like, there are scumbags in Washington who believe that if we use these compounds and heal our veterans, that they don't have to keep getting paid disability. So the guy who's been suffering for 15 years from PTS because of Iraq and Afghanistan, we finally heal him with compounds that God put on this planet for him to heal, and not big pharma and not some prescription pad at the VA. You're going to say, yeah, we know you haven't gotten a job in 15 years because of what we did to you, but now that you're healed, we're going to take all your money. People were stunned. Well, you know what's funny? The cool people were stunned. The Harvard law school folks and some of the legislators were like, yeah, that sounds about right. And clearly, as me being a human being and having a heart, I'm absolutely mortified. So that's why I say, this kind of raised, in some ways, more questions than answers. A lot of people around that august table did not know a lot of the heat that I was bringing. They were actually very concerned, like, oh, wow, that's a great point. If these compounds can truly heal, then, geez, we could see how politicians, I won't use the word leaders, how politicians would say, oh, yeah, it's a lot of savings. Maybe that's why we'll move really fast to reschedule these or legalize them. It's interesting to tell people about these things and see the light bulbs go on. A lot of people are asleep in this country, man. Just going through the motions, don't know that our leaders are that way or that wired. But it is what it is. So that was good. Like I said, today's Veterans Day. I would have hoped some sort of announcement today or something. I got to remind you, I'm that weird dude that 4 months ago when RFK Jr., the Secretary of HHS, said, quote, I want psychedelics in the hands of veterans in the next 12 months. I'm holding you to that. That will be the halfway point of the Trump administration. There's a Turning Point USA event at Mar-a-Lago, December 6th. I was invited to, but I'm like, no thanks. Why? December 5, 6, 7, up the road from Mar-a-Lago, I will be holding space on a retreat. I would rather be there. Although Susie's like, you should probably go to the Turning Point thing because you might be able to shake hands and meet. And I'm like, everything that's supposed to happen will happen exactly when it's supposed to. So I am doing my best, but I trust God. I also trust that somebody, I'm actually doing an event at the Daniel Ortiz, or the baseball player. His foundation, I'm speaking on a panel on mental health this Saturday up at PGA National. There's a big gala Friday night, and the rumor is the president's doing a drive-by. So why am I bringing that up? Because somebody has to get to him and take 30 seconds to tell him that veterans who are suffering from trauma incurred serving this country are sneaking across the border to Mexico to heal. Now, technically, they don't need to do that. They can come to our entheogenic church here in Florida, but the point still stands. You want to do ibogaine? You're going to a clinic that's price gouging you right now. My very close friend who got back from a great clinic in Mexico was $12,500, $15,000. Which is nothing compared to saving a life. I get it. But when I paid $3,500 4.5 years ago, it's a little gross. That's just slightly higher than the rate of inflation. Or maybe does it have to do with the Netflix documentary that just dropped, or it's on Rogan, or the New York Times, or Fox News, or ibogaine is hot. There was a couple people leaving the Harvard conference to fly directly to Aspen for the Aspen ibogaine conference. I didn't know about that. Wasn't invited. Who cares? But I saw I love Robert Gallery and Jay Koppelman from the Mission Within. So good people were there. Cassidy, Norman. So I'm glad we're attacking in parallel, right? Rescheduling ibogaine, legal use, veterans, VA. Knock yourself out. Entheogenic churches using these as sacraments. We are knocking ourselves out. And mainly psilocybin for our church. We'd love to get ibogaine up. A lot more infrastructure required. We are going to be doing 5-MeO-DMT. The most violent spiritual experience of my life was 5-MeO-DMT. And I'll go listen to episode 7 of the MAX Afterburner podcast. But I think I briefed you last time that my brother Justin Lepre from the Illuminating Collective did the first religious use of ibogaine in the United States in Austin about 3 weeks ago. Very proud of Justin. Eight veterans, I think, 6 to 8 veterans. So well done, Justin. Very proud of you, my brother. So I like all that attacking in parallel action. We're kind of hitting it from all sides. The FDA side, right? MindMed, Atai and Buckley just merged or bought each other, or Buckley bought Atai, whatever. Cybin, Compass, great news on these fronts. Don't come up to me a year from now and tell me, Whiz, I should have listened to you and bought the publicly traded psychedelic names. You should have done it already. If you haven't, do it. I'm not giving you individual investment advice. I'm telling everybody to do it, right? Do you remember in 2020, in December of 19, January of 2020, I did outsider trading. I heard something escaped from a level 4, the only level 4 weapons lab in China. Whiz, they're digging up the highways around this city. It's called Wuhan. Something escaped, man. They're sending in military units with mobile crematoriums. They're ripping up the highways. Nobody can leave. I'm like, holy shit. I told everybody, as senators, congressmen, were lying to us, weren't they? Going to a microphone. They left a secret brief, went to the microphone and said, what? Everything's fine. Remain calm. Everything's fine. Then they got on their phones and called their brokers and their friends and said, get out. After an investigation that took 1 year to 2 years, the SEC and everybody said, yeah, that wasn't insider trading. I'm like, okay. Well, good, because that's what I did. But I didn't lie, right? I didn't pick up my phone and call my broker. I told all my TOPGUN Options members, I told everybody who would listen, they're lying. We made $2.5 million in trades in about 2.5 weeks, in about 3 weeks as the thing imploded. So, by this, isn't it funny? Nancy Pelosi retiring, one of the most horrific humans on this planet, She's made like 148 grand or 150 grand a year for, however long. She's worth like $150, $200 million because of her insider trading that she does with her husband. Nobody did a damn thing. Except last year, or whenever it was, like the Pelosi Insider Trading Congressional Act that she actually supported on her way out the door. I got mine. Let me pull the ladder up. There's Nancy Pelosi trackers, right? And in this day and age, you don't get trade confirmations in the mail. They're like instantaneous in your brokerage account. Congress still has, 90 days to report publicly your stock transactions. Even getting notified late of Nancy Pelosi's trades, these hedge funds and other services track her, destroyed the smartest hedge fund traders in the world. She's a criminal, and it's a disgrace. It's so disgusting what that lady got away with. Martha Stewart went to jail because the CEO of Imclone, or whatever company it was, gave her a heads up, like, hey, some bad news coming out. She got out of some shares. So she avoided a loss. She didn't make money. She avoided a loss, and James fucking Comey threw Martha Stewart in prison. Oh, the same James Comey that's indicted for being a huge piece of shit? Yeah, that guy. Can you believe that guy? Don't even get me started with all that stuff. On happy news, the government is opening. What an absolute disgrace our politicians are. So they get paid, senators, congressmen, the people that shut down the government were getting paychecks, but air traffic controllers, TSA agents, the United States military. Did you know on this Veterans Day, folks, I'll let you know, 40% of enlisted families are on food stamps. Can you believe how little we pay the folks in this military? And then when the government shuts down, they get screwed. As we're opening the government, it should be 100-0 vote in the Senate and 5 whatever or 4 whatever in the House. Every person should vote for a new law that says if the government ever is forced to shut down again, these people continue to get paid. The first thing you're taught as an officer in the United States military is take care of your troops. Take care of your people. Absolute failure, absolute horror. It's infuriating to me. But these are the same people that can't get, what was it, 2-3 years ago? I remember talking on this podcast, jokingly saying, oh my God, I saw a headline that said AOC and Dan Crenshaw. I didn't want to read the rest of the headline. I was like, what, got into a fist fight, killed each other? No, AOC and Dan Crenshaw agree on psychedelic-assisted therapy for veterans. I'm like, oh my God. If you can get those two people who can't even be in the same room together to agree on something, it probably is a good thing to do. And here we are years later. It's so incredibly frustrating to me. I shared this at Harvard last week. When I talked to the people at the VA, Whiz, we love what you're doing, but you have to talk to the lawmakers. I walked down to that end of the street. Whiz, we love what you're doing. You have to talk to the VA. It's a stupid standoff. It's a circular firing squad. Somebody needs to stand into the middle of that circle and go, it's okay. And it has to be the president. Mr. President, veterans are sneaking into Mexico to heal trauma. Done. That dude would grab a pen and a piece of paper and with the stroke of a pen would change things. I don't know why nobody's gotten to him. Maybe they have. I doubt it. The guy doesn't drink, doesn't do, this stuff, obviously, but he's the type of guy, he's said stuff like that before, with cannabis reform. He was talking about that, like, I don't do it, but I hear it might be good for folks with cancer or these issues or veterans. So I'm definitely intrigued. I would love to talk to the guy. Clearly, Secretary Collins is failing. RFK. Hell, J.D. Vance was on Joe Rogan when he was a senator before he became vice president. And Rogan gave him a 10, 15-minute brief on psychedelics for veterans. And to his credit, J.D. Vance admitted, he's like, I didn't know about this stuff. Thanks for the heads up. He's a former Marine. You're never a former Marine. He's a Marine. And he's like, wow, thanks for the brief. Maybe we should look into this. I don't know what else to do, folks. This is why sometimes I just I stop and I just put my mouth guard in, put my chin strap nice and tight, and just keep doing the work down here in the trenches. This is a we the people moment. This ain't coming from them down. This is coming from us up. But that's why I just say, you know what? Susie and I I'll just shrug my shoulders like I don't like the blood on my forehead from banging it against the wall. It just doesn't. I trust God. I trust the Holy Spirit. All of it's going to happen when it's supposed to. But it's sad to get a text from Arrow about a veteran, a fellow veteran who killed himself. He knew about No Fallen Heroes. His parents knew about No Fallen Heroes, but he was worried if he did this, if the VA would find out. Folks, I'm a priest. Well, I run a church. I am a priest. I don't like that term. Steward, sacred something. I'll come up with some term for what I am. But folks, ain't nobody hearing nothing from me, especially from the VA or the government. If you choose to heal or join our fellowship, ain't nobody going to know nothing unless you want to tell them. And it's so sad. It is so sad to get a text like that. Like, man, this guy killed himself and he knew about it. Parents were, in the loop and were trying to get him to come. And he was a dad. He was a husband. He was a son. Did a video. I reached out to Secretary Collins' office about this issue. Silence. Waited a week. Maybe they're traveling. Maybe veteran suicide isn't the highest priority. Maybe they're whatever. After a week, I'm like, done. That's why I shot that video when I was going for a hike in Aspen. I'm like, what else can you do? You can only do what you can do, and it is what it is. So that's why we're just going to keep putting in the work. Don't need the accolades. I mean, I'm honored to speak at Harvard, appear on media and stuff like that. But I'll be, between us ladies, it's draining, right? It's draining to me to keep bringing this stuff up, to keep pounding my head against the wall. That's why I actually, I retreat into the work. Can only go to so many fundraisers, and you can only. It's tiring when other people don't have the sense of urgency that you do. But that's when I have to take a step back. I got to look in the mirror, and that's when I go inside, right? Not everybody, because that's ego. That's ego right there. What's ego stand for? Edge God out. That's ego flaring up when I'm like, why isn't everybody's give a shit meter on full? So that's why 5-6 months ago, just sitting there going, why not start your own church, Matthew? I'm still integrating my ibogaine experience. When I was preparing for my Sacred Warrior Fellowship brief last night, rereading all my old journals, man, whenever I start rereading that stuff, I get back in, I'm back. Because I get separate from God, but just because I feel like I'm drifting away doesn't mean he is. That's me. So when I get back into the work and I get back and go inside, it recharges my batteries. But then you get the email or the call, like, would you come to this conference? You got to do it. You got to do it, right? We got to get the word. the fact that, there was a line of people to talk to me after lighting up the Harvard lunch panel, and one lady with tears in her eyes. I'm like, wow, that it does. It feels good. But the DC stuff and the legal stuff and everything like that, it just doesn't float my boat, so to speak. So good stuff going on. Sacred Warrior Fellowship Airborne, working to bring additional sacraments into our church. It's funny. So entheogen, somebody asked that last night in the brief, like what, I don't even know what that word means, right? Entheo, right? It's to bring forth the divine within, the God within. Entheo, it's entheos, and then I wrote it down on my card at home. Greek, the two words put together, entheogen, to bring forth the God, to bring forth God inside of you, or the divine within. So that's why and that's why I told you when the battery's running dry, so to speak, it's because I'm pouring out. What's that saying? You can't give from an empty cup. Sometimes, the cup, I get a low fuel light in my cockpit and I have to return in. That's why, lay off social media for a while. I'll just return within. And that wasn't who I was. The old me would just keep going full throttle, and run out of gas and refill my tank with toxic crap, which is not the way. So, I saw this thing written one time. It's like, hey, be thankful for everything. You prayed for this stuff a year ago or however many years ago. There's no way in hell that I'm ever going to complain about things, because when your dreams or things that you wanted to do are coming to fruition, be thankful. Be thankful, Whiz, for being tired. But take care of yourself. Whiz, you always remind people, if we lose pressurization, put the mask on who first? You got to put the mask on yourself first. So I need to, every once in a while listen to my own advice and put the mask on me, and good things happen. Holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever you choose to celebrate, Hanukkah, winter solstice, Kwanzaa, whatever, man. I love it all. It can be challenging for folks. Thanksgiving, there's all sorts of memes and running, that it's a stressful time when families get back together, or it can be for some, right? So I'm here for you. If you need anything, like I said, the beginning of December, we're doing our retreat, but spend some time over the holidays. Literally, we'll probably do another. Oh, we do have another podcast coming up where I have Dario. Susie and I went to the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Club. So Dario's the president of that. He was at a retreat, our second Sacred Warrior Fellowship retreat. He's coming in. The next podcast you've got to listen to. He's an Apache pilot, Army guy. You're going to be blown away by his healing. But Susie and I jumped in the car and drove down to right near Sunrise and to the big Harley dealership down there. What a whole different world, man. Very cool. But the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Club, and they gave us a beautiful donation, $2,500, which funds a healing retreat at our December retreat coming up. So we will have another podcast before Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So make sure you listen to that one. I know you guys are getting sick of solo Whiz and all my rants, but it's interesting because I just get so busy and I'm like, oh my God, man, I haven't done a podcast in forever. So we're going to start. you guys need a break from me. Susie will come in. She's going to talk to some of the ladies who have been our retreats, some of the stewards at Sacred Warrior Fellowship. You all have seen a couple podcasts with Teresa. She's just a gift from God, and maybe Zoya and Kat, and then some of our current Sacred Warrior Fellowship members. So we'll spread out. And I got to get, I was talking to Marcus Luttrell. He's like, hey, man, you're the only one. I've flown to Tahoe, to see Robert and JT down in Texas and JJ in Oklahoma and I got South Florida. So, I think Marcus Luttrell is going to take a vacation down here. So we'll get Marcus on the podcast. I want Robert on here to talk about him starting his foundation to get ibogaine to football players, to help those guys heal their trauma, their head traumas and all that stuff. So we'll get more guests, but Thanksgiving literally takes it's the word, right? Take some time to reflect. If you wake up on Thanksgiving with a roof over your head, running water, electricity, you're killing it based on how some people live in this world. And don't ever forget that they are you and you are them. We are all one. That's one of the most powerful gifts of these sacraments is unity with God, oneness, Christ consciousness, and recognizing that we are all the same cosmic stardust that was exploded in the blink of an eye. Let there be light. Every atom in your body is my atom. It came from the same. Ask the scientists, folks. Don't ask the political science major from South Jersey. Watch the YouTube videos with people smarter than me. Every atom, every element in your body is the same as everybody else's, man. There would be no more wars, poverty, crime if we all recognize this. The belief that we are separate, in my opinion, is sin. That's the sin. And like I said earlier, just because you forget that you're connected with God doesn't mean he ain't. He has always been, and he will always be. I felt that. I told you. He told me that. And then I got to experience what that feeling is. No time, no space, just pure bliss. It is almost impossible to understand that. Me being years out of that specific ceremony, trust me, when I meditate or lie in bed at night, sometimes trying to get back to that moment of perfection, oneness, infinite bliss, it doesn't make sense to me. But I have faith because it happened to me. You can't have that all the time because we're human. We have time. I got to go to the gym after this and all that type of stuff. But you've survived every one of your worst days. And the worst day that you think you won't survive will be the most incredible day in infinity. So we are all going to have the opportunity to experience what I talk of. And it's interesting because listen to mine or a bunch of other folks' experiences with these sacraments, and then go watch some YouTube videos on near-death experiences. Copy, paste. I died. Definitely ego death on 5-MeO-DMT, and the ego definitely took a break on ibogaine, and it was perfect. Couldn't stay. God actually said that. He's like, you got it? This is your natural default state. You have nothing to worry about. I am always here. Not your time yet. You got work to do. But know this is in the background. And I can, my meditation practice is in the gutter right now. I need to get back on it. Isn't that perfect though? Yeah, I can recognize that. But and you're not supposed to grade your meditations because it's a practice, right?
Doctors practice medicine. Isn't that weird? Oh, I got that wrong. What do you mean you got that wrong? Well, I'm practicing medicine. Found you guilty. You said I'd be innocent. I practice law. Well, it's the same thing with meditation. When I practice meditation, sometimes I suck at it. What I'm getting at is the times when I'm in it, I can get back to that place. No thoughts, no mind, just absolute peace and oneness. And it's pretty special. That's why, and when you join our fellowship, our church, you can get access to our sacred manuals, and I will give you all of my teachings. But if this is calling to you, I strongly recommend yesterday. If you didn't do it yesterday, you're starting today when you listen to this podcast, because I'm almost done. Google closest yoga studio and go. Walk in like I did down in Fort Lauderdale in running shorts and running shoes. What do you wear to yoga? Now I'm wearing yoga shorts right now. And the ladies could not have been nicer. Like, oh my God, first day guy. After you start doing some hot yoga and getting your ass kicked, meditation, or do it at the same time. Linking breath work to movement, because you can't breathe in a past breath. You can't take in a future breath. Yoga, breath work, meditation, and it'll get you prepared. Even, coming up in the holidays, man, especially overeating, sitting on the couch, watching Ole Miss win the national championship, hopefully. Find some yoga, find some meditation, find some breath work. And it'll really, really set you up for success if you choose to join our fellowship or sit in ceremony or do whatever you want to do. So, blessed, humble. It is humbling. That's just not a catchphrase like, hey, I'm blessed and humbled. I actually mean those words. Didn't always used to think I was blessed. Used to think God hated me. But I am absolutely blessed, and I am humbled. I remember, falling to my knees in front of God. I'm like, man, I am the worst. I'm a drunk. I'm a horrible father, human, husband. And that was gone. Said, I got that. That's not yours anymore. I ask and you shall receive. Rise, let me show you what you can do. So I am humbled to be doing this work, because I remember asking God, why me? I'm robbing a village somewhere of an idiot. There's no way in this awesome plan that this was mine. Why not? If not me, who? If not now, when? So thank you for tuning in. Another, I don't think I was ranting too much, but another Whiz half rant. The Harvard folks actually did. They reached out. They're like, oh, my God, we're having such demand. We didn't know people would want to watch the replay. So the Harvard law folks sent out an email to all the people at the conference like, hey, we're gonna turn around the video. So I'll get that out on my social, or I'll post it somewhere on our YouTube channel, No Fallen Heroes or Top Gun options, or both. So if you want to watch the Harvard presentation, you can. But I appreciate you listening to this solo rant today. Come up for the next one, because Dario, Army Apache pilot, incredible ceremony experience. Not going to take anything. You got to listen. And to what he's been carrying for 20 years, to 15 years, and what he experienced in his own words. So I'm really fired up. And then we'll get some better looking folks in here than me, my beautiful bride and some of the stewards as well. So happy Veterans Day to all of those who have served, to the family members. Thank you for your service as well. My beautiful bride served because she had to put up with me for so long. So thank you for your service. Make sure if you are going to say something like that on a day like today, remind people that's a great phrase. Hey, thank you for your service. Do me a favor going forward. Put a comma after that. Do you need anything? Are you okay? And you just might save a life. Thank you for your service. Are you good? Can I help you? Do you need anything? Try and incorporate that into your Veterans Day going forward, and you just might save a life. Have a great rest of your day. Fights on, namaste, and basi basi. Whiz out.